I think there was just something about this one, something specifically pleasing about this, given that all of the narrative going into the game was about the opponents. Hello and welcome back to the Villa podcast after what was a pretty incredible Sunday. Apologies I didn't get to you sooner. It was a crazy day yesterday. The main event obviously being Aston Villa's 2-0 win over Arsenal at the Emirates Stadium. But it was a great day for sport. It was obviously the final day of the Masters. It was the final day of the NBA regular season. There was a whole lot going on. And so it was a busy day for me as well. So sorry for getting to you guys 24 hours late. But I'm sure after a game like that, you don't mind the extra wait and we can just keep this conversation going a little while longer because it was an all-time away day, really, an all-time away day. I think I was kind of having this conversation yesterday with a couple of friends and I was like, I think this might be my favourite win of the season. And there have been some very strong contenders. It's been an amazing season. You only have to, we've done the double over Arsenal for the first time since I think 2019, 2020. And, we look back at the 1-0 win we had over Villa Park, the week where we beat both Arsenal and Manchester City 1-0 in the space of just 7 days. There have been some incredible results, the demolition of Ajax at Villa Park. But I think there was just something about this one, something specifically pleasing about this, given that all of the narrative going into the game was about the opponents. It was all about the title race. On Grand National Weekend, it was all about the three-horse race at the top of the Premier League going into Sunday's fixtures. City did their job. They took care of Luton at home at the Etihad. Liverpool then obviously slipped up at home to Crystal Palace. They lost 1-0 thanks to an Eberechi Eze goal. And it meant that going into this game, it was the final game. It was the big one on Sunday. On Sky, obviously, a lot of the conversation was around, can Arsenal capitalise on Liverpool's slip-up and keep pace with Manchester City? We obviously know that if Arsenal had taken 3 points yesterday, they would have gone to the top of the league. And it wasn't, I don't just want to single out Sky for their coverage or anything like that. It goes right through, even down to the bookmakers. Some bookmakers had Villa's as high as 10-1 to win this game, which is just outrageous when you consider that we already beaten them this season. We have a fantastic record in the capital. We've, barring the away trip to the Etihad a couple of weeks ago, we've actually done quite well, not just on the road to big teams, but against big teams in general this season. And so I just found that Villa were not even, I don't even want to say written off, because it was like we were almost a non-factor, that Arsenal had a game and the opponents were kind of irrelevant. It was all about the title talk. And look, I've worked in the sports industry myself. I studied sports journalism. I know that they have to sell these games on the big story, right? And that's the title race. The neutrals, the kind of the armchair fans, all they care about is what's going on at the top of the table. Whether Villa get top four for your neutral fan is kind of by the by. But I just kind of found that there were so many narratives to this game that were kind of being ignored. Unai Emery going back to Arsenal, Ollie Watkins, the Arsenal fan, apparently Leon Bailey had a fondness for Arsenal back a day. There were so many different kind of elements. The win that we had over them earlier on in the season that I keep mentioning, there was kind of so much going into this game that I was surprised at how little respect Villa were given. And, when you look at the first half and how depleted the Villa squad is and was yesterday, I think we have to pick out John McGinn and Yuri Tielemans, who did a fantastic job in midfield, sitting far deeper. I think it's incredibly interesting when you compare it to the win that we had over them at home earlier on in the season. But Tielemans and McGinn were the attacking number 10s in that game that gave us so much control in that fixture. And when you fast forward the 4 or 5 months to yesterday's game in April, they were the two holding midfielders, and it was Morgan Rogers and Moussa Diaby playing ahead of them. And, when you look at Rogers and Zaniolo, the creative figures that were put above those two guys, they were dropped in at the anchor. And it's interesting, Jacob Tanswell of The Athletic, who's, I think has just done a fantastic job of covering Villa this season, said that this season, Unai Emery has harboured some concerns about Yuri Tielemans' ability to play the holding midfield role in Villa's midfield due to his lack of acceleration, a kind of general lack of physicality. We were warned a lot by Leicester fans when we signed Tielemans that perhaps his legs were starting to go. And I don't think we saw any of that yesterday. I think Youri Tielemans was absolutely fantastic. And so when you kind of go into the game and you look at the kind of the midfield, there was some question marks raised about whether Zaniolo should have started. I think those were quickly put to bed. I thought he had a fantastic game yesterday, and I believe Villa fans have voted him as their man of the match. Arsenal played some really, really good football in the first half. Some really, really good football. And they created a whole bunch of chances. They probably should have gone into the game at halftime at least 1-0 up. Bukayo Saka hits the side netting. I think Gabriel Jesus hits the side netting. And then there is that incredible save from Emi Martinez with an outstretched right leg to somehow put that over the crossbar. Definitely one of the saves of the season. I thought Martin Odegaard was having a really good game. He was kind of finding balls in behind. Emi Martinez makes a low save down to his left from, I think, by Havertz from close range. And so Arsenal definitely were creating chances. And that, when you look at the stats, not just for the first half, but for the full 90, Arsenal had 7 more shots than Villa. They had more of the ball marginally, about 3%, 51% to 48%, with a better pass success rate. And they won more aerial duels. They won more tackles. They gave the ball away less. All across the game, Arsenal on paper looked to have had the better of this game. But as the game went on, I think once we got into half-time at 0-0, I really can't stress how important I think that Emi Martinez save was to keeping Villa in this game, keeping the optimism up. And I think that could be such a pivotal moment in the title race when we look back on it come the end of May. That save from Emi Martinez, what would have happened if Arsenal took the lead there? If they go 1-0 up in that moment, do Villa still go on and win this game? Do we kind of fall apart and crumble like we did at the Etihad when we conceded 1 and then fall away and end up conceding 2, 3, 4? Who knows? Villa staying in this game and going in at half-time level, which we failed to do at the Etihad when Foden curled in that free kick that went straight through the wall past Nicolo Zaniolo, that broke Villa's spirit, I do believe, and meant that when we came out into the second half, already a goal down, you're on the back foot. I think knowing fixtures like this, when the tension is high, when there's a lot of stakes on the match, when there's a lot of pressure in the stadium, particularly away from home, the longer that you go on in the game, the more the Emirates got antsy, the more the atmosphere became not like, I don't think the word is toxic, but you can feel the anxiety build in the stadium, slow passes, get an extra groan or two, the chants get a little bit more desperate. And as the game goes on and on and on, Villa grow into it more and more. And we weren't without our opportunities throughout the game, but they were created more out of Arsenal errors than anything else. The main chance of the first half was, I think even a chance is like, we're putting slightly too much on it, to be honest with you. So I think it's a half chance at best. Gabriel tries to pass the ball out to Zinchenko out wide. It actually hits Zinchenko on the back, falls at the feet of Ollie Watkins, who gets a chance to run at Gabriel, hits it from about 20 yards, low along the floor. It beats David Raya, all ends up, hits the inside of the post and trickles basically across the goal line. It was agonising, really. And so we did have moments, but they were created for us rather than by us, if that makes sense. But as the game went on, I thought Villa's game management really, really came into effect. I thought Tielemans and McGinn were absolutely excellent. And, the guys at the back, Diego Carlos was absolutely heroic. I think it says a lot about how good the Villa team was generally yesterday, that I've seen 3 Man of the Match awards given to 3 different players. I think Zaniolo was, as I said, voted by Villa fans as their Man of the Match. Diego Carlos was the Premier League's Man of the Match. And I'm looking at who scored right now, who have Youri Tielemans by far and away, based on their match ratings, as their Man of the Match. He could have gotten a goal as well yesterday. He hit the crossbar and the post, so Villa hit the woodwork twice, 3 times if you want to be kind of picky about it, given that the Tielemans shot hit both elements of the woodwork. But Villa really, really grew into the game. I thought the management was excellent, and we deserved to go 1-0 up by the time that it came around. Because of the pressure that we were putting on Arsenal, because of how well we managed that second half, we really managed to take control of the game and ensure that it was us that was bringing the game to Arsenal rather than the other way around as it was in the first half. And I think the lads deserve immense credit for that one. The goal is really, really well worked. Really, really well worked. It kind of comes across the face of goal by Luca Dean. It's a low cross. I can't believe it. If you actually look who's going for the ball at the near post, he completely misses it, and it means that he's able to roll through to the back post for Leon Bailey to slot home. It's a great finish, by the way. Although it's a kind of open goal, he's still got a lot to do to tuck it away. It's Pau Torres. Pau Torres is in and amongst it at the near post, trying to tuck it home. I couldn't believe it when I watched it in real time. I had to kind of watch it back 2 or 3 times to make sure, it's our centre-back crashing the front post, trying to get something on it. But thank God he didn't, because as I said, it rolls through to Leon Bailey, who tucks it away. And oh my God, the scenes in that away end, the scenes. And I think in this instance, again, like when we talk about game management, the moments after that goal are so important, because you either decide whether that goal is the catalyst for their Arsenal to then pour forward in numbers, really draw the Villa defence back into their own half and make sure it's a backs against the wall kind of last 10-15 for Villa. Or you take control of the pressure that Arsenal are under and make sure that you make it even more difficult for them to kind of play through when the passes are slightly overhit, and there's that nervousness that I said that's creeping, into the stadium. You're 1-0 down, the clock is ticking, passes are going astray, the groans are going up. Arsenal pour men forward as they're expected to do, and we're able to break. I think it's Tielemans that plays the ball through to Ollie Watkins, who's way ahead of Emile Smith-Rowe, can you believe it? Who's the last man back for Arsenal. Such is the extent to which they're hunting for that final goal. It's Emile Smith-Rowe, and it means that one-on-one, it's no contest. It's no contest. And I think this is where Ollie Watkins he's such an underrated carrier of the ball. And, I'm not even going to necessarily pour a load of praise on Unai Emery for this one. I think this has gone way, way back to when he was kind of playing out wide. There's a goal in our 7-2 rout of Liverpool going all the way back to the lockdown season, where he kind of picks the ball up on the left-hand side, runs with it, beats 2, and he's able to curl it into the top corner. And he's always had this magnificent ability to carry the ball. But what I think has developed as he's matured is the ability to kind of slow a defender down, then speed up past him, and then finish. It means that when Emile Smith-Rowe is trying to block what is eventually a magnificent chip from Ollie Watkins, he's kind of already off balance. He can't extend as much as he'd like to try and get a toe on it, and it just allows David Raya goes down way too early. But the finish from Ollie Watkins, it's glorious to watch on the main feed. I imagine it was even better to watch in the away end. But from the main feed, from the second it leaves his boot, you can tell it's going in because of the trajectory of the ball. But there's a good 2-3 seconds where it's gliding through the air before it nestles into the side netting, and it's pandemonium in the away end. It's absolutely glorious. And it cuts to this amazing shot of Unai Emery going absolutely ballistic on the touchline. And then there's an incredible shot by Sky of Unai Emery down low, and it's him in front of the 2-0 scoreline on the scoreboard. And just what a moment for Unai. We spoke about the Lille game. It was obviously his 1,000th game in management. I think the way that Arsenal not necessarily treated Unai, because I think it was the right time to kind of part ways. And I actually think Unai's come on a long, long way, particularly in the way that he communicates with the media and seemingly communicates with his players behind the scenes. If, certain reports have been kind of been to believe, the way that he emphasised communication with the players. Apparently Villa had 3 team meetings on Sunday alone. The way that he communicates, not just with those internally, but the way with the media has come on in leaps and bounds. And I think he's able to articulate himself, his beliefs, and kind of his point of view to the media and to the players far better than he did at Arsenal, which I think definitely contributed to his downfall. But what a sweet, sweet moment for him. What an incredible moment for some of these players. When you look at Morgan Rogers, who I thought was exceptional yesterday, Luca Dean I thought was fantastic. I've kind of said throughout the season that it looked for all the world like he was going to be out the door in the summer. Apparently rumour is he's on very high wages, but when he's playing as well as he is this season, who's to say that those wages aren't deserved? There were some incredible performances throughout the team. I think McGinn, particularly in the last few games, even in the kind of the collapse at home to Brentford, has shown just how much we miss John McGinn. He obviously got an assist in that game. And whether you play him deep, whether you play him high, he's just always able to produce at such a high level. One of the standout, I think, centre midfielders in the Premier League at this point. Such an underrated name, but the longer that he goes under the radar, the better. And then Ollie Watkins, another goal. I say he's going into the games now, not just wanting to score, hoping to score, expecting to score. We have one of the standout number 9s in European football right now, and he just continues to deliver at such an elite level. Gives it to Troy Deeney on Instagram after the game. What an afternoon for Ollie Watkins, the boyhood Arsenal fan. Does the Thierry Henry celebration with his arm on the corner flag when he bags the goal in front of an adoring away end. Just a perfect Sunday evening for Aston Villa, and it sets us up really nicely to go into Lille away on Thursday, which is an absolutely gargantuan task. We're really going to have to put in another performance a la Sunday to get through that one, especially if we want to come out with a win. If we want to get through the tie, it's going to be such a hard task for Villa. We're going to dive into that one a little bit more as we get closer to the game itself. But guys, given that it's just me on my own, I won't ramble solo to you guys any longer. Thank you very much for listening. There's a link in the description down below that will take you to all of our social pages, the FPL, which is really, really high up. We need to do a dive into that because we will be giving away a shirt of your choice from this season to the winner of the FPL League. So make sure your teams are locked in. We've got some double game weeks coming up. So make sure you got one eye on that because, yeah, a shirt from what will, no doubt, whatever happens from here out to the end of the season, be an incredibly memorable one. I think everyone's going to have to want to get their hands on a kit from this season. The best way to do that is through our FPL League. Check out our TikTok, our Instagram for more clips. And yeah, come back Thursday for the post-game from Lille. Thank you very much for watching, and up the Villa.